And hello, welcome back to Blake's Den, and this is my 1989 Austin Mini Designer project. And in this video I'm going to be removing the exhaust from the exhaust manifold, possibly something else as well, depending on how complicated it is. Let's make a start. If you don't know, this is my project I've been working on for some time now. I'm doing various different steps on it to get the engine out, to clean the engine bay and clean the engine, paint the engine and all of that. I've already done a video on removing the carburetor, which was the last video I did. I did a video on removing the radiator as well. I'm going to combine these together into one big long video. In this video I'm going to be removing the exhaust. And I think it might be easier than I first thought it was going to be. Let me show you. So it's not the easiest thing to see, but this is the intake manifold. This is the exhaust manifold. And it goes down and you've got this big clamp here. And I need to undo that clamp and remove that clamp. I suspect it's going to be a bit seized and a bit hard to get off because it's been on there for many, many years. And if we look at my handy parts diagram, you can see the exhaust comes along, comes up here, it's got like flange on it, and you've got this clamp which goes round, nut and a bolt, tightens around that flange and holds it onto the exhaust. I personally thought it was going to be more complicated. The last time I did this was on my MPI, my Mini Cooper MPI, and it uses that manifold there, and actually has two studs which come through here and here. And I had to get underneath the car, use all of my extensions and reach up to undo those. But luckily on this one, with it being a non-MPI, looks like it's going to be a bit easier. And the only other bit I then need to do is, there's a little bracket, or there should be a little bracket there, which holds it onto like the subframe. I'm not even sure if that's attached on mine. So yeah, we'll make a start and get those off. So I've got you in a position there where hopefully you can see I've got a 1/2 inch spanner on there, and I'm going to need actually I'm going to have to do it the other way around because I'm going to need a long reach spanner, well, a long reach socket. So let's put the spanner on that side. I can already tell by how much this exhaust is wiggling around that clamp which connects it to the subframe isn't attached. So see if we can get the socket on. Right, I've managed to get that socket on now. So, okay, it's turning, which is good. That's coming off incredibly easily. I thought that would be corroded and impossible to get off. But no, it's coming off quite easily. He says, yeah, I think that's pretty much loose now. Can I get in and turn it? No. Need a little bit more. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to cheat here. Instead of using a ratchet, I'm going to swap to a 13mm spanner. So 1/2 inch is 12.7mm. Once you got things loose, you can normally get away with a 13mm spanner, and I've got a 13mm ratchet spanner. So I'm going to try that. Right, so I've got my ratchet spanner on with a flexible head, just a Halfords one. Yeah, and that's unwinding now, so if I just hold that spanner in place, that'll make the nut unwind. And we'll just keep working this out till the clamp comes off. It's going to be a very slow process because you can only turn it a little bit. But yeah, that's already getting quite loose down there now. Okay, I can just about turn it by hand. Now I'm going to have to go back to the ratchet spanner. Obviously, as the nut goes up the thread, it's picking up all the dirt, which is why I sprayed it with WD-40. So I can see that clamp opening up now, which is good. Right. Not sure if that's done enough now. See if I can open that up a bit more and see if it'll pop off. I'll just go and get a screwdriver to wedge in there. So if we get the screwdriver in, that's opened that clamp up. I don't think it's quite opened it up enough to get it off, so I'm going to tighten that up, or sorry, slacken it off a little bit more. Right, I've now fully removed the bolt and brass nut from that clamp, and the exhaust does feel quite loose, but obviously this still is sitting over the flange or the rolled end on both the intake manifold and on the exhaust pipe itself, so we just need to somehow prise this off, and then the exhaust should drop off. It's almost like I need to put something in here. We have to sort of widen the gap. Yeah, not sure if a screwdriver is the right thing to use. Alright, somebody has been here before me. That clamp is not single-sided, it's double-sided. So that's why it wouldn't come off. So no matter how much I splayed it apart, it wasn't going to come apart. So there's a nut on the other side. So let's see if we can get that off. You've always got to expect it's working on an old car, you know. It's probably not the first time this exhaust has been off. So someone will have been here before messing about with it. It's not always as per the manual, particularly if it's a car I've worked on, because the amount of bodges I've had to do over the years to make things work. Just how it is. Right, let's see if I can get this bolt undone. Or technically this nut undone. Okay, it seems to be coming now. Okay, finger tight, so I'll just unwind it a bit more. Oh no, it's nipped up again. So I'm just using the same technique using the 13mm ratchet spanner to get in there to free it off. Right, okay, the nut is free. I'll just wind that off. Wind it off as far as it'll go. Okay, it's just nipped, it's caught up on the end, so. Right, the whole thing has just dropped. So that means it's off. So looking under the car there, you can see the exhaust is off. I temporarily tied up the exhaust on the back when I got this running. So I'm going to undo that and then we can pull it off. And there we go, the exhaust is off. So that's a little bracket which should have been attached to the subframe but wasn't. You got the downpipe with a flanged end. Come down here, we've got a join here with a very, very rusty cable clamp. Look how thin that's got. Not cable clamp, exhaust clamp. And then you got the rest of the exhaust all the way back to where the back box goes. So it doesn't actually look too bad actually. I was considering putting a new exhaust on this just because a standard exhaust for a Mini is like cheap as anything, but I may actually be able to reuse some of this. Oh, and if you were wondering, that was the exhaust clamp I was fighting with, the double-sided one, but it's It's actually fine. It can be reused. So that was fairly simple. Simpler than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to continue working my way around, disconnecting all the bits I need to disconnect before I remove the engine. One of the things I can see down here is the fuel pump. So the fuel pump is down here. So that has a hard line which comes up to the carburetor, which I removed in my last video. At the end of the hard line is a short flexible section, and then there's another short flexible section going to another hard line, and that hard line goes out to the fuel tank. It's only a single line on this one. Fuel injection cars have twin lines for the return, but the carburetor system doesn't. So as the fuel pump is attached to the side of the engine, I need to disconnect the pipe. I'm either going to try and undo it and pull it off, or I'm going to just snip it like I did before, because I will be replacing the hoses for ethanol resistant hoses. So I'm hoping you can see that the pipe just pulled straight off the fuel pump. So nice and simple. The next job I want to do is the heater hose or heater valve assembly. This valve is seized closed. So basically, when you want heat, you pull the cable in the car, pull the knob out, pulls this cable, moves that lever, opens the valve, lets water flow into the car, into the heater matrix inside the cockpit. So I'm going to remove this now because that needs to come off as well before the engine's removed. So I've got two options here. I can undo the two bolts, pull that out, move it to one side. That'll expose the water channel inside the engine. I don't really want to do that. So my second choice is remove this absolutely rotten Jubilee clip, and then remove the cable, and then I can pull the hose off, and I can pull the cable off and leave the heater valve in place for now. I've got a replacement to go on, but that'll just stop any dirt or anything getting in the engine. So I think I will go for the latter option. And yeah, we'll see if we can get this undone, and we'll see if we can get the hose clip undone. The hose clip is very rusty, but it has just snapped off, so I can wind that out. It's quite an old school type. It's got like a square nut underneath. Don't know if you can see that or not, whether the camera's giving you enough resolution, but you need to kind of like have it in the right place. Like basically as the screw unwinds, the nut gets lower and lower, and there's a little tab to stop it from spinning. But obviously you get so far and the nut sort of kind of doesn't have a tab to spin against, so you've got to somehow either separate it or get something on to hold that nut. So that seems to have worked, just separating it a bit. So right, I'm going to work that off, and then we'll pull that cable off, pull that hose off even. So cable clamp is off. So now I'm going to get my grips on here. Actually, I have to do it that way around. And I'll just grip around where that was, and then we'll just walk it off. Yeah, that's nice and corroded, isn't it? Okay, right, we'll push that out of the way and forget about that for now, and then we'll get this little cable off. Looks like it's the sort of same process as the carburetor, so there's a little bolt to undo there. I'll come off, I'll free the cable off, and then there's a little cable retainer here, so we'll get that apart. So that bolt just undoes, 1/4 inch. That should allow the cable to then pull through. As the whole thing's quite seized, it might be a bit tricky. What I have to do is just bend up this end so it's straight. Sorry. Don't know if I'm saying sorry to a camera, but never mind. Alright, okay. Yeah, I'll need a bit of wiggling through. Let's try with the clamps on. Okay, so it's definitely loose. It just doesn't want to go through because of the angle it's at, I think. I'm aware I've just bent that, but I'm not too worried. Right, I think if we undo that clip, it should come off now. So yeah, that's just undoing now. Slackening off the cable and then a bit of wiggling, hopefully. With a little bit of wiggling, there we are, hopefully it'll come through. Just to avoid any confusion as well, I'm going to label this one heater cable. I've labelled the choke and the accelerator cables in my previous video, but you know, this comes through the bulkhead, it'd be very easy just to mix it up. So we'll put that to one side, we'll put a label on it, and yeah, we'll move on to the next task. You can see there the label I've put on saying heater. Yeah, and that can safely be tucked away. I think that's probably all I'm going to do in this video. I think in the next video, I'm just going to continue to work my way around. I think I'll do the engine top mount, remove the negative cable, and remove the clutch slave cylinder. And then I'm sort of working clockwise around. Once that's done, it's this out the way, horn out the way, dizzy cap off, alternator off, undo the bottom engine mounts, engine out. Oh no, need to pop out the drive shafts as well. Must remember to do that. So I've still got a few more bits still to go, but I think smaller bite-sized videos is good. I'm a bit concerned about this though. Look how corroded it is around here. I think either the clutch or the brake cylinder has been leaking at some point. Yeah, the chances of getting that bolt out, which holds the top engine mount in here, I think are going to be pretty slim. But I like a challenge, but you can watch that in the next video. Well, I'm going to leave that video there. I'm feeling a little exhausted after that. Yep. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have liked this video, press that like button below. Please consider subscribing to the channel as well. It costs you nothing. And if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below. I respond to all of my comments. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.